As GW unveils 11th edition, I decided to reach into my Orc vaults of lists and take a sneak peek into what I think Orcs will be looking like in 11th edition by using a list from the past that I had been holding on to that I think will give us a nice, fun example of what we can look forward to with what GW has told us is coming with the next edition. So today on WAAAGH Wednesday, we have the stats and the facts. We have our honorable mentions as Orcs were doing an excellent job since this edition change. We have four and one lists that we're going to go over. Great job on the lads there. And top player coverage. So with that being said, roll to the live chat. So welcome to the Gets being here. Let's get stuck in, lads. Of course, this is live, so it'll be interactive. We got a lot to talk about today. GW's been showing off the terrain, how it's actually going to look like on the table. Spoke about how dense they're going to be. I personally got my own information and was able to get a very good understanding of what the TO meeting was like and what they were discussing. So a lot to be looking forward to, and that actually played into what the list is that I picked. When I was looking at, I have to pick a list generally as well that I think did well over the past couple weeks. And in this case, I was like, all right, this list I want to show off. And so, of course, we have the ones that we're going to show for honorable mentions. So be sure you're around to vote on that. And we're going to take a peek at the Orc stats of how they've been doing since the meta's been unfolding, right? Because some of us still getting stuck in, right? As Orcs would do in lore, even if the Grand Warlords move on to other planets to move people that are looking towards 11th, there's us lads still getting stuck in the mud, right? In 10th edition, still fighting it out to the bitter end, regardless of our placing, so where we're at. So shout out to the live Gets. And of course, Rewatch Gang. So what's up, everybody? Be sure you guys get stuck in the chat because there'll be a lot to discuss. Now, let's take a look real quick at the Orcs overall. They're sitting at 46% win rate with those green mean skins. Now, that's like right where GW finds us somewhat still in the acceptable range, but we need some help. Yet we cannot look forward to GW touching us any further for how this edition unfolds. So ultimately, regardless of what the stats we're showing off here, you should know that so many detachments still have playability, especially towards the end of this edition. And you should just ride it out playing whatever you enjoy, especially since what we've seen with the detachment changes is how we're going to be able to melt them together using point systems, most likely. That is, okay, my cult of speed may be 1 point, my bully boys may be 1 point because there's typically hyper restrictive, and I can put them together and use that as my faction, as my army as I built my list, right? So taking both of those kind of units, you could take Warhorde. Well, I think Warhorde might be one of those detachments that stays like the whole cost, right? If it's 3 points, Warhorde might just cost 3 points because it's already so strong. But I don't know if that's for sure, right? These are just assumptions because it is the overall detachment that Orcs have kind of always been leaning on. So it'd be very weird and interesting to see if GW kind of forced us away from that with the new detachment, right? Like with system. Could they make it appealing to use two of our very less uncommon detachments that from the 10 that we have plus the 3 that we're going to get? And that goes to say as well, are we even going to keep the detachments maybe that were Grotmas, for example? Of course, I think we possibly will, but there's something to be said that they decide, hey, just stick to the codex, right? So Orcs are in that spot where we can just freely reign. I've been playing my Freebooters detachment now that they changed it. The timing on it does help when you're going second for sure, and it kind of makes the gameplay a little bit more linear, yet still very much the same. So I'm enjoying that, and so you should be too, because we never know what's going to get thrown out of the codex or added. Right, added based off what GW is showing off. People like Dread Mob and more DACA, yeah, stuff like that. We're going to be able to see that would make so much sense, right? More DACA already is like a supplementary detachment that kind of feels like that's all it is. You just get assault and then access to good strats. It's like sustain. Sometimes it's like that should be 1 point. Dread Mob does feel like a 2 point system here. Boom, automatically help because Dread Mob's going to need help in that case, because typically my favorite combo personally in all the entire codex, right, comes from Dread Mob, where you throw like 3 stratagems on your Killer Can mob and it goes crazy. Now, I can only do it in certain phases. I can't re-roll the hit roll and big shells for bigger hits, right? So I can still do the whole charging and shooting and all this different kind of stuff. But it'd be better if I just had the detachment rule and some access to mobility already. So I look forward to it. That did impact when I picked my list for you kids. So maybe when I show you guys the honorable mentions, you'll be influenced to pick something else too. And of course, speaking of honorable mentions, we have our paint competition too, 5/18/26, 5/18/26. All right, don't forget. So you can put it in the Discord, the Facebook, whatever. I don't care. You can email it to me. All right, pictures, whatever. Don't spam me, or I'll think you're spam and I'll block it. But you get what I'm saying. Try to find something that you can put it in, just a couple pictures. There are rules to abide by, but other than that, you could win some WAAAGH tactic dice. So make sure you do that as to get ready for the next edition. Now that we know towering, we'll give these guys +1 to hit, right? You can pass in other buffs. So that'll be pretty awesome to see with the new rules that we're seeing. And I don't know if they'll be able to stack it, make them hit on threes and such, but it will be fun to see that they're at least getting some kind of buffs. And with the terrain that's being shown and the layouts and the size of the measurements of the actual pieces where the terrain pieces will lie, there are some that are only about like 2 inches wide. I think that these guys will be able to hide behind and then possibly move over. Maybe they can't hide behind it, but they can get some kind of buff defensively. So we'll see about that. I do have good hope for the next edition, as do most people, and I think it's quite valid. Will we grow together going forward? Absolutely, and that's what we're here for on the channel as well. So it'll be a great time as we move forward in the next edition. But speaking of the gets that are still getting stuck in, what's up, live chat? We have the honorable mentions right now. So, of course, we're going to put out a poll here, and you can choose which of these as the live chat wants to see. If you're a part of Rewatch Gang, simply put it in the comments, leave a like, and then I'll be sure to look over them, and maybe it'll be my call out the next weekend, right? So, yeah, we got our boys. So, starting off with Stefan Dorfin with 4-1 with the rise of the green tide, as it's always a meta countermeasure to a certain degree, right? So very nice to see Orks still getting stuck in and doing their thing with the green tide. Here you can see we have 3 different detachments just showing off this weekend. Many factions can't do that in 40K. So though our overall win rate's down, the boys are up. So shout out to the green tide. It was at the members 40K GT. So yeah, let's go. Make sure you guys check it out. Then we have Alejandro Lara at 4-1 with Tactical Brigade. At the welcome to the Thunder Mania mark. So of course, 2. Sorry. So Tactical Brigade's one of those detachments that you rarely see actually function. So I know there's going to be a lot of support for that, whether it's the comment section or the actual poll system that we put out right now. So I'm excited to see what's going on here with the chat and how the community responds to an actual Tactical Brigade result. Then we have Paul Martin with his Warhorde list at the Sheffield 40K. And then we have McQuell Setri. I don't know how to say her name. I'm sorry. At the Warhorde GT at Batalla por la Roca. So Battle of the Rock, pretty much in Spanish. So yeah, we have a good system here going on with what everybody's going in. If you guys need more, let's see, a little more information. Let's see if I can help the rating system. So the Welcome to Thunder Mania 2 GT had 33 players, and yeah, it was coming from, looks like they were playing on GW terrain, and I might actually be able to see the mission pack here from it. Should have already checked that if I could. Yeah, so they're playing on GW, so I can see some of the mission pack here. That influenced the voting system. Oh, that's actually Thunder Mania. Is that the one that we wanted to see? I think that's one people want to see, so I think I just helped them more. But it was only 33 people. No shame in that. Just pointing out what we're finding out here. And then at the Sheffield GT, this event had 243 players, right? So a larger pool to actually learn from and take into like the system, into the equation. But this was on the UKTC terrain, it seems like, in England. So maybe that'll influence the voting system there. And then Batalla de la Roca is 32 people. Again, what seems like the WTC. I'm not sure. I don't have. There's no player pack there. I just feel like showing off so people know what they're voting for because they're close right now. This is close. And then as for the members GT, that was 39 people. Shout out to them. And they're using the GW layout, and I don't have information, but if I did, let's see, player place. Yeah. And Orks got third place there. So yeah, that's what's up. Now you guys can check it out. And it looks like, oh, shout out to the chat. What's up? It's my boy Tiger Melch. Whoa, that's you at the top. That's the Green Tide. You out here at the Rise of the Green Tide? Hey, dude, you should have messaged me in Discord. What's up? You should have sent me some notes. You didn't give me no notes. Look at Weird Boy New. What's up? Did you give Boss notes? I always tell you guys that if you watch this, part of Rewatch Gang, wherever you are, message me, Facebook Messenger, stuff like that. You people have hit me up in a bunch of different ways to end up on the channel, right? It's just reaching out. So shout out to 5 WAAAGH Tactic Gifted Membership. Whoa, right, which we actually did a new membership call-in video where we called in and had some members on, and we were talking about the next edition while I was painting. It was kind of a mess, but I'm figuring the system out. I want to interact with the members more and such. So thank you very much, Tiger Melts, for that. And congratulations to you, right? And I should be giving you 5 WAAAGH Tactic memberships for doing a great job and representing the Green Tide and representing the WAAAGH Tactics, at least from Discord spot, right? So much love. Awesome. So message me, give me some notes. Let's see, let me check, make sure. So, and I guess so we'll see if that comes up, of course. And thank you very much, very generous of you, and shout out to you getting a vote. And maybe even if they don't win the poll, hey, you never know, I might still reach out next week. So thank you very much. And let's see what else live chat's saying, because Tiger Melts is on fire in here. He thinks he got filtered. He said he did message me. Oh, no. That does not happen. I am on it. Try right now. Go to the general chat and say something to me, and then I'll reach out. All right, Tiger Melts, don't worry, I'll find you. I'll find you in the Great Wall. So, with that being said, like I'm explaining to those that are just getting here, when it comes to the list that I picked this week, right? It may have been from like a month ago, 2 months ago. Well, what we need here is that I'm going to. Oh, chat, let me know something. Okay, they need to know that the poll's up, so don't worry. The poll will be put on. Don't worry. The Max got to get on it. All right. So with that being said, the reason I picked the list that I picked as of this last weekend, or this week for the last couple of weekends ago, was because it's actually a mix of 2 of my favorite detachments. So let's move to the list that I picked. As I said, the poll's going to come up. Don't worry. Either Mex's going to get on it or I'm going to get on it. Don't worry. But we have to start off with Johan's Cult of Speed. So if you've seen this before, the name, it seems familiar. It's because I actually had it in the voting poll, and it always got mentioned, and it was doing pretty well in the polls. But I know also the Green Tide the Cult of Speed player base is smaller than some of the other detachments. That being said, if you look closely, there's a hint of the Bullet Boys in here, right? So this actually gives some awesome context. Also, he had a great score going on, and I believe we have the mission pack on deck last I checked. So we'll have some good notes from this for the most part, and be able to talk about this list and how it still actually makes sense as we move into the next edition, even if it takes some minor tweaking or even more investment into what would hypothetically be a Bully Boy synchronization with the Cult of Speed. That would be devastating. Could you imagine a game with that? Right. And this is already a pretty fire list as it is. And shout out to other people that I've been talking about with Cult of Speed in general. This list has been hinted at from other people. And a lot of the time, the one thing I'll say is that before I say the alternatives, let's just go over the list. Too excited. And the chat is too. What's up to you guys? Don't worry. We're going to be stuck in with live chats very often. So we have the mech as the Warlord. Of course, that's usually like a defensive measure for knights. Then you have 2 war bosses in mega armor. That's an interesting twist right there with a Zagrot Wartsnaga. If you don't know, Zod's very common in Cult of Speed because he's fast as all the other Cult of Speed units when it's still go turn. but he's actually infantry and can spam OC and help a lot. So then we have, and he's awesome. Then we have 2 10-man units of the boy. So just basic lads. Now, one of those is very obviously going to be assisting in filling the battle wagon, which is awesome. But there's a chance that you just put both of these guys at the battle inside of a battle wagon to start a game, and you let one just jump out and move forward to the middle of the table, getting an extra 3 inches on it. So there might be something on that. Could be used as a reserve unit. Could be just deployed near your home objective and sticking it and then moving forward later. So there's options. But really like to see boys just being used in that kind of way and having some more infantry. I know a lot of the time I feel like I needed more infantry when I played this. So we also have a basic truck that is likely for one of those mega knob units. But as I said before, there's a chance you're playing kind of leapfrog here, where the boys are jumping out of the truck, the mega knobs are jumping in, and then the truck is moving, right? So there might be something involved in that as well. Then we have the real meat of the list is the 3 big bricks of 6 Def Coptas. They're very important, as many times we mentioned, for cult to speed. Defensively, don't throw them away early game. You lose too many of them, then you kind of don't lose that late game push that they can do on swimming points and being very mobile and tying up units. But at the same time, they can't be your damage dealer units. They're not really that damage dealing and shooting. Don't get it twisted. And the only time I really have somewhat, and here's somewhat, right? Somewhat means don't rely on it. Faith in their shooting is if I'm shooting a very good blast target, meaning I'm getting at least 2 additional dice per blast weapon that I have on the Def Copter brick, and I'm able to pop sustain 2, right? If you can get that situation up, then okay, maybe you're actually going to be cooking right there and shooting pretty well at infantry, right? That doesn't get Terminator armor. Then they're kind of offensive. So there is some kind of balance here. Yet what really helps with that is the kind of support they actually put onto this list. That's different. You have, of course, the big brick of Zod Gretchen, but you have 2 minimum size unit of Gretchen. Can never, ever let people get behind you with cult of speed. So very important you have that kind of screening. So you can tell that's very much just for screening because you already have so many boys on the list. Then we have the 2 Mega Knob bricks, and they are both twin kill saws. I always get kind of back and forth. People say with kill saws, power saws, shooting, all this different stuff. Power claws, excuse me. It's because you really just need the AP. That's what it already failing with this detachment specifically. It's struggling with damage, it's struggling with AP, and the Mega Knobs really have helped that, and the strength and the re-rolling wounds, because they essentially get no other buff, so they at least need to be wounding reliably to help chip stuff down, finish stuff off, sorry, that's been chipped down. So one can go on a battle wagon, one can go on a truck. Boom, you have Mega Knobs on your cult of speed list. But that's what we're expecting. This kind of list is what it's going to look like next edition, but it's actually going to make sense because you're going to have the bully boy buffs on possibly only a couple of your units. So how sick would it be if you could actually modify this list even a little bit more going forward if you have to, right? You don't have to spam into max Def Copters possibly. Then we have triple Mega Trap Scrap Jets. Very unreliable skirmish type units, but dang, I love my buggies, dude, and I love my Mega Trap Scrap Jets. Don't take the bait to pop sustain 2 on your Mega Trap Scrap Jet. That being said, it can be fun if you accidentally do something like that. Just saying. Just you ends up getting looted by your little grot, you're playing a smaller game. It's hilarious. You can drop 4-up intervals on this, get way too much investment from your opponents on it because of its durability in that case. So love the scrap jet. Have some mortal wound potential there for its charging. A little bit of tank shock potential there as well. Very giant bases though. So if you were to modify this, let's say, then we have 3 war biker units, which is an interesting take. I like that they retain the toughness here as much as possible. So if you really look at how tough everything is, either on its own or sparingly, if it gets into a skirmish, everything's pretty tough. The boys are a little bit flimsy, but they're meant for like a scoring, board control, sticky objective kind of state, which was really nice because typically in Cult of Speed, you're going so far forward and trying to tag everything that you're diminished by the end of the game. And if you can sticky stuff and keep holding the enemy to not be able to get there, then cool. Or if you have whole boys hidden up somewhere and they were holding a natural expansion, for example, then they can come out and skirmish. It's not as bad as just 5 Mandos, for example, which is interesting not to not see, right? But and not having so many a trike and a big war biker units means a little bit easier on your deployment, less optimal targets for the enemy's 3 damage anti-infantry weapons. So going into the Megatrack scrap jets, the buggies in that case, is a very cool alternative, and really forcing your enemy to have to invest that kind of anti-infantry weapons, either spreadingly into the ablative wound from the Def Coptas and the 4 Invulns, overkilling a Megatrack scrapjet for the point cost for that kind of weapon, or investing in the Mega Knobs when it's actually go time and they have their 5 up fill no pain up. So if this was the change for next edition, easy little changes, one less copy unit, for example, maybe there's reason and more incentive when we get more rules, right? Drop a buggy and you could fit war bosses on this list for the boys units, then these are actually bully boy mix. Like very easily you can just add those units and it's not that much. We don't know how much the costs are going to be, so I'm leaving a little extra allowance on there, right? But maybe you don't even have to take all that stuff out, and then you actually get a bully boy / cultist speed type of unit. And this is kind of what I pulled out of the vault that I've been thinking of, like, okay, if I had to show what this kind of result could look like and would be cool to see in the next edition, it would be something like this, but with actual synergy and buffs between all of the units. So let's look at his actual missions, and actually, yeah, because I actually know what missions he played for the most part. I don't have the actual. Let's see. I'll make sure I don't have before I say that. I'm pretty sure I don't have the actual layout. No, because they're using WTC, but they say which ones they were using on WTC, I believe. I'm looking to make sure I didn't miss it. Either way, what's up, live chat? Just making sure. Oh, they're using 4 and 5 on WTCs, and then I can say the mission. So 4 and 5, and typically people would say WTC is too dense, right? Sorry guys, I'm trying to look this up right now. See if I can just pull it up. If someone has it from the live chat from the Discord, show me up. Anyways, maybe it'll be quicker than me fiddling looking. Should have already had it up, guys. Sorry, but trying to eat a little earlier on these start times on the stream so that it's better for more diverse community of people to interact with. No, I got the GW ones here. So what's up, live chat? Let's see if I got that message here. Yeah, like I said, so if anybody's from the live chat, then we have, let's see. I'm checking, guys. Sorry if they have that W. Yeah. Sorry, guys. All right, I'll stop checking real quick and just look at the matchup, and then I'll pull it up because he got crazy scores. So let's look at that. I got too engrossed in my search. So let's look at his score and his actual placing, so I don't leave you guys all tied up here. What's up, live chat? Everybody's blowing up. Reading some of the chats too and getting lost. So he ended up getting 3rd place at this event, and this was in Finland. For anybody that, of course, Americans, we don't know what's happening here, but it was 129 players. So excellent turnout at this event. Excellent placing with crazy scores. So this list was very exciting to see with its results in that case. Made it the first 4-0. He went 4-0 right off the rip, and then slowly changed. So of course, it was a different meta, different units, and then different environment. Of course, people will say, well, I don't play the terrain and all that stuff. I understand. Remember, take this with a grain of salt because we're looking at what the next edition is to come and being creative like I get Mark Berry. Whoa, right? Speaking of being creative and open-minded, that's why we're doing these kind of lists, right? It's a mixture of I picked it because it's awesome, I liked it, and it looks like what I think we're next edition's list or might look like. So let's look at his first matchup. He went into the Adeptus Sororitas. So I'm not going to spend too much time in the list because, we know everything's changing and every such. And so excuse me if I go too fast. If I do, live chat, let me know if you want me to slow down and go over anything specific. So we got candidates with Jump Pack. Demi-Fuel, Fuge, I don't know how to spell I read. A Hospitaller, Junith, Morganval, and Saint Celestine. So kind of the basic character loadout for my sisters. A 10-man unit of Battle Sisters, Arco-Flagellant squad of just 3. Good volume on that. A Castigator, followed by 3 Paragon Warsuits, double 5-man units of Retributors, and 5 Seraphim with a Rhino, and a 10-man unit of the Sacrosaints. I think I already said them, and I already said them later. So a little light on the units. No, but typically Cult of Speed does actually do quite well against Sisters because of the speed and the fact that they want to meet us in the mid-table. Even our little weak kind of chaffy punches from, for example, a Death Copter unit, right? Maybe into Sacrosaints or just some Sister squad. The Copters will get 7 attacks each on the wall. You could pop Lance on that, and they're already strength 6. So you could already wound them on 2s with your base. But if it wasn't on the wall, you could pop Lance and get wounding on 2s. Not going to get, any other kind of buffs. It's not like you can reliably murder all the sisters, but you can definitely devastate the unit or help finish off some castigators, some Sacrosaints, and then such for like the castigators, which there are 2 of them here. Again, that's actually why you have Mega Knobs that are actually able to run down the field, smash into these units, soak up their damage. Boys getting in skirmishes and stuff, running this guy over. Very excellent to see this kind of list. Like I said, we got the buggies on deck that they're going to have to skirmish into and try to pop with the 4-up invulns through all the Death Copters ablative wounds. That would be a lot for Sisters to chew through, and they're really not durable after that. So Morganval would have to do heavy carrying. Fat 100 points on that one. And actually, I have what the mission was. I'll take a look at the layouts when I get a chance, guys, or if someone shows me or shows me what I have it in Discord. But as for round 1, we have Terraform on Crucible of Battle. So that was that mission. Very nasty, right? Able to go out there with the boys, like I said, jumping out of your transports, like I said, to walk onto the objectives and then start terraforming if you go first. With Cult of Speed, and then you're able to close the distance and they're never able to terraform again. Definitely messing up the Sisters on that one. Even if you're not able to do it as you used to be able to do it, you still have a bunch of initiative and able to run them over after that. So they're gonna have to come to you if you're able to get that. So that's what I said. The transport is a 10-man truck, boys jumping out, running up. The next game, second game, was against Astra Militarum, where we have Cadian Command Squad, Commissar, double Joe Rogan Dorns. No, Rogel Dorn Commanders, double a Techno Priest and Ursula Creed, followed by a big 20-man unit of Cadian Shock. 4 of those. 4 20-man units of Cadian Shock. So we got a horde going on here, you gets. Ooh, what was I just talking about? The Death Copters? What was that? Okay, Death Copter punches might be cool here. We have Armored Sentinels, some Basilisks, a Lehman Executioner, double Vanquishers, and a Tempesta Scion. So you're going to have to be defensive with the battle wagon, but, move up, stage up, get in there, get in the fight. Either way, you can hide him initially, right? So he doesn't get popped. He's the one thing that you can really just try to hide and then set up, move forward 10 inches, boom, get out, do your thing. Boys, like I said, it was a launching pad anyways. Soak up the anti-tank weapons. Hopefully, Mega Knobs get out somewhere somewhat safely. The next turn, you'll clear your wall. So I like that. And the Mega Knobs help keep these tanks at a respectable distance as well, because the typical game, but in this case, I guess guard doesn't have to do it, all these bodies, is that they would move the tanks up onto the objective in a later game. Yet here they have so many bodies that they're looking to play the primary anyways low. Though, as I stated earlier, 1, you have boys. 2, the Copter Blades being strength 6 on the wall with 7 punches each, able to get Lance on turns that it's not wall and still be 6 punches each, does blend up these low armor save Team 3 units. Absolutely. Right. I've put down some respectable Space Marine powered armor units. Not respectable as in like killing a couple intercessors and stuff, which is decent for a no AP shooting speed platform. But in this case, it's actually able to help a little bit with OC, punch some bodies out of there. And then you have all the boys on your list as well. So very much about the initiative in this case. that you have to start chewing through them gets. You got some bikers to help you in that with their small arms fire. And then none of this stuff is pushing over typically like the guards last guns would do if you, let's say, you're just all T5 bodies. In this case, Kaptas, bikers, buggies, all are getting wounded on 6s. All are taking moderately effective armor saves, getting up to 3 up armor saves if they have cover. So what would actually blend our dudes is just left to, trying to target boys, and Megan up T6. And you have Zod. So Zod is running up and punching out one of these bricks with all his grots. And if they can get their pistol shots off too, that would be even better. So we have a lot of countermeasures to that list, and he gets a 100-point game on that, right? Because then Zod's running up with good OC as well, even though guard can take orders and have better. We have taken hold on this one. So this would be an excellent game for that. Guard would definitely try to bully on a primary there. Then we go into his third game where he finally reaches some resistance in the Adeptus Custodes, where he's being a simple man, as he stated. So he went one character, and like we said, this list actually did get nerfed. So chops right here to this list, and the our get right is actually pulling this one off, because this is one of the lists that got nerfed and doesn't even exist in this exact archetype anymore. Now it still has, well, I shouldn't say exact. It still can be played very similarly, but you're down on how many guards you could take, and the points I think went up on those guys. Yeah, that's what it was. So you just can't take as many and such. Yet still very, you still might see it out there though. Don't be surprised. It's a simple army for a simple get. So we have one blade champion with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unit of guard, with 3 of them being 5-mans, and then we have a unit of wardens with 3 prosecutors and double land raiders. So very common archetype for custodes, very formidable list. And like I said, I think having Meganobs on deck is very important in this matchup, because otherwise custodes can fully disrespect you. Now, sometimes warriors can even get lucky and start killing some of those gets down, helping with heroic interventions by getting in the way. And then sometimes your Coptus can go off with their, like I was mentioning earlier. In this case, you're going to be happy to get 1 blast, but in this case, they don't have Armor of Contempt, for example, so you can at least make them take 3 up saves with Sustain 2 and hope you get some good shots off on there. Twin Link to help in that case. You also have 2 OC on all those bodies you have, and Zod kind of helped break that up as well. So this mission was actually, I clicked click something preemptively. This was Hidden Supplies, Hammer, Anvil. So awesome job here. And yeah, this was a great win with the 80-point W on that. Would definitely like to hear more about how that played out. But hey, it's a simple get in the simple universe, but he got crumped. So shout out to Crumping the Custodes on that one. And to see this list really has teeth. Don't know the objective. Imagine just the waves you could put on here and pressure on your opponents. And then just slowly just be eroding those units, respectable primary on your game. Always getting the ability to go score your secondaries and to fall back and attack other objectives and flanks. Very good when you have ultimate mobility and some actual defensive options. You're not so soft that you get pushed over by everything. So yeah, then we go to is round 4. What's up, live chat? Hope you guys like that, dude. Taking out Custode Guardian spam when it was at its peak with Land Raider support and Warden support. That is some W's in chat, if you ask me. Then we go into his 4th game, which was the Gene Stealer cult. So triple Abominants, a Biophagus, double O's, a Patriarch, and a Reductus Saboteur. We have hybrids with auto pistols, some Neophyte hybrids, 2 Goliath trucks, 3 bricks, 5 aberrants. I said bricks, but they're not really bricks, are they? 2 Achilles Ridge Runners, 2 big bricks of, this is actual bricks, of Metamorphs, and then a 5-man unit of Metamorphs. I guess they're not 5-man, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, 5-man unit of Metamorphs, followed by 1 10-man unit of Pure Strain and another 5-man unit of Pure Strain. So a little bit of initiative, but when I've played Cult of Speed into the couple times I played into GSC, but I ended up running into them, well, like I said, T3, being able to get the initiative, run up on them, have decent toughness against their small arms. They don't just, we get to fall back and do it all over again. You just erosion at its peak. This mission was Scorched Earth, Search and Destroy. So a little tight deployment for the Orks, but he doesn't have commandos. But in this case, he's very fast and just kind of get in the enemy. He actually has infantry in this case, can declare an effective WAAAGH, even if he has to, if the opponent gets too close turn one. Don't call turn one WAAAGHs typically though. So yeah, awesome, great job there taking out the Genestealer. And then we move to his actual loss, his fifth round. So this was into the Space Marines Ultra Force. So we have a Gravis, Lieutenant and Combi, Magnus Calgar, Tech Marine. Intercessors, Brick of Eradicators, Incursors, Repulsors, Executioners, double them, Scout Squad, Hammer, Strike Gunship, Storm Raven, and then Vitrix Guard with the Wardens of Ultramar. You can't do, he doesn't have his, with this Gravis, or was this? This is the Terminator with his Victory Guard. You obviously can't do this anymore. So that's actually a good example of a list that's really not going to be existing. Now, you can still do pretty nasty stuff, not take this version of Calgar where he actually gets his Victrix Guard. So it's not like this list is just done, right? Repulsor Executioners are still awesome profiles. Really effective at killing them. And Blades of Ultramar is obviously going to be used. And this is something you can look forward to the next edition. But this combo isn't. And we also know that now with the engagement kind of ranges here, if Cult of Speed is now able to be safe at distance and then close that distance immediately and then follow up with double Bully Boys WAAAGH, this sort of matchup is a bit different in that case. As for the mission, this was round 5, which was taking hold and search and destroy. So we'll see how that looks. The layouts that have been getting shown and everything are vastly different. So I look forward to what this would look like in the future. Still a great job here because he only lost by 9 points, right? Here's the top player, 79 to 70. So within 10 points, excellent job. W's in chat. We got WAAAGHs in chat. We didn't get W's in chat. Where the W's in chat for this for running over some great lists. But with that being said, let's take a look at his list one more time. With our sneak peek into what 11th might look like with our list. We have a baby mech with double War Boss and Mega Armor, a Zagrat War Snagga, 2 10-man units of boys, a truck, a battle wagon, 3 big bricks of Koptas, Zod support, 2 11-man unit of Gretchen, double Meganobs with twin kill saws, some scrap jets, 3 of them, and then a war biker. Now, the one thing I didn't talk about was the baby mech. Very interesting take here. Maybe it was just straight points and he just liked the flavor. I love that. You actually now to actually get the mech buff off on the Mega Track Scrapjet sometimes takes a second because you have to do it at the end of the movement and it's so much faster than you. But there are those cases where you're giving it a buff and you can actually repair it because they do survive skirmishes so often, right? Like a character with 5 just basic battle line unit support, like a Emperor's Children, whatever their version of a captain is, with 5 battle line units, can't reliably pop a Mega Track Scrapjet with the 4-up invuln. And then he can fall back, the mech can even +1 to hit, and go back in there and help finish off the unit and kill it. It gets kind of fun in there. You can also give it to battle wagons. You can heal Def Copto. You can heal the Def Coptos because they are vehicles, so you can heal them. Now, giving them +1 to hit means it only affects 1 model, but if you're one of those against that likes to use the custom boost, custom Mega Blaster, right? On one of your Coptas and the other one use rockets, well, then that one you get +1 to hit if you want for your own sake. Of course, you can do it to the battle wagon, you can do it to the truck. You can also just heal them, which again has to do with that toughness and redundancy in the list with that stupid little mech running around, right? Giving the wagon +1 to hit so when they actually fight. I didn't show all its war gear, but it had all the fixins. It had the roller and everything. So I was just being sure to show the hard case. So yes, you can boost that get as well. So awesome job. I actually love this list a lot. It has so many units that I like. I love battle wagons. I love Mega Track Scrapjets. I like Meganob, even though they look stupid. I have my own. And we think they're going to be new models in the next edition to come. So Awesome. Great job to Johan. And let's move on to thank you for the W's in chat, Johan. Look at all the W's you get from all the gets in chat. Thank you very much for that. He said Mega Knobs and Cult of Speed is so crazy. It's Orky AF. Whoa, exactly. So shout out to you get. I pulled out one out of my vault, guys, because I have these lists kind of in the background that I wanted to show, and I've been wanting to show this one. Didn't have the right time to do it, but now I do. So let's go to our honorable mentions, which sorry if I made them kind of low. Did we ever get the poll? I was so engrossed in what I was doing, I didn't have the poll. If I didn't get the poll up, sorry about that, but I will personally put it up, and then I'll hold tight. I'll let you guys vote if I didn't. So let's check it out. Did I have a poll? Did I have a poll? Let's see. I guess not. I guess I didn't have a poll. You guys going? Well, I didn't have the poll. All right. Let me try that real quick. I'm just going to put the detachment to make it easier. All right. Oh, I guess my Mac. I'm having a problem where my Mac at. Poor live chat. Sorry to get that. We're here for a while before. Okay. Ooh, Mikael. Yeah. Okay. Now, before I put it out, I feel like it's only fair to maybe mention one of the differences. Let me see. So the cool part that I was liking about Miguel's list is that he had a War Boston Mega Armor with Super Cyborg Body as support. He had a Kill Rig for his support. And he still had the Gas Mob with the boys. So if you want to know what that list was like, that was his archetype. And then because I have to kind of give you guys a reason to know the difference between the different lists, right? Two Warhorse lists. And Paul's list, right? Because I put in the thing up. Oh, because I put the thing up. Paul's list actually had a Beast Boss on Squigosaur with Super Cyborg Body, so bringing up for the Index Hammer, and double Big Mob of Boys support with some Burner Boys thrown on the list and a big brick of 10 knobs. So he had a different variation. So two different variations of Warhorde. So you guys can let me know. Of course, if not, you just pick Green Tide or Tack Brigade. Well, I put up the poll. Let's see if you guys can get stuck in for me real quick. If the live chat, shout out to the gets that are still here. I left you guys suffering. But you know who didn't leave us suffering? The Bad Dog. Whoa, for 5 WAAAGH Tactic memberships. Make sure you get on that next call, Bad Dog. So thank you for the support. Of course, we have more stuff coming out. I'm going to have that bat report coming out. Then we have Friday's video that we're going to have and maybe do members calling as well. So either way, yeah, thank you very much. Very super support, very necessary for next edition, right? We need WAAAGH energy moving into the next edition to make momentum and to be the #1 orc channel in YouTube and retain that momentum. So thank you very much, anyone who's here and participates in the poll, because we definitely got to get these things up. So thank you very much to the Bad Dog W's in the chat for Bad Dog. Whoa. Yeah, my mech was down, guys. So sorry about that. I didn't know my mech was down, but now we know. So if you're here live, make sure you get stuck in. Let me clear up some of my notes while you guys do a poll real quick, and I just talk about how I did get my some of my questions answered when I was wondering how that meeting went for GW. Oh, I think I destroyed one of my lists, guys. Boom, boom, boom. I did. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll get them. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. Let's see. So I got Doom. Okay, I was missing. Who did I destroy from my list? Um. Oh, I know who I destroyed in my list. Sorry, guys. Now for me, it's technical difficulty because I'm pulling on my own stuff. It's not really that technical. I already found it. But yeah. All right, cool. Now I got all my stuff back. Let you guys actually interact in the chat. This is a good. Well, at least you guys, it's a good time for me to talk to you. Gets while you guys vote a little bit. Oh, right, chat right now saying shout out to the chat. A beast boss with squig on a 4 of feel no pain. I must be dreaming. Very, very funny you get. We used to have that built in, right? The Squigosaur, Mazrog. What a good time Index Hammer was. Hopefully GW brings some of that stuff back. And talking about bringing it back, GAD Mike 06 with 5 Wall Tactic memberships. Whoa, very generous and very grateful for the support there in the chat. I guess we were calling on the Wall Energy and the gets showed up. So thank you very much for that. Make sure you get on the call in. I'm gonna do the bat rep that I'm gonna go do. Might release that to the members first immediately. You guys let me know how it goes. I'm gonna make shorter ones, so there's more incentive for you guys to actually watch them near the end of the edition. Just kind of messing with new lists and such. So the one I did is using free Buddhas because that was got changed recently. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it, and we really are diverse. And thank you very much, JD Mike, because we're diverse because of you. You get whoa. So yeah, thank you very much. Now you guys got membership. We got a bunch of green boys in chat, W's in chat, and so let's see what the poll's saying. People in chat are already bragging about the fact that Tactical Brigade was the one that's already being shown off to be most likely to win this. So all love to the gets that are still on here, of course, honorables. There's a good chance that maybe I just pull you up next week, for example. So of course, if you ever do well or if you end up on one of these things, then you can always reach out to me, and then has a good chance that you can actually still get your results shown or talk about, or at least bring it to my attention. So thank you very much for the guys that are voting. Keep voting as well, so I know what list maybe is good for next week that I can keep it up. But with that being said, I think it's very clear that because we're at least at 50% between 4 options, that it's just the Tactical Brigade that ended up coming out on top here. So we have Welcome to Wall Mania. No, it's not called that, but it's called Welcome to Thunder Mania. We're going to call it Wall Mania here. Now, I'll give you a second. You can read his list name if you'd like. Not appropriate for YouTube, but it is appropriate for them gets. And of course, let's see what's going on in chat. Yeah, guys, don't worry, live chat. We'll move on with you. We'll still interact with you guys in a bit. And yeah, if you got a membership, check out the Discord or Facebook if you got it. Reach out to me so we get you on them calls if you'd like to. But as for Alejandro's list, let's look at the Tactical Brigade because we're getting cunning. This is one of those lists. This is one of those detachments. I'm not surprised that the community picked this. That from what we heard, that cover gives you, right? Change your ballistics skill, like you actually take a modifier of negative. We don't know if GW is going to go forward and change Tactical Brigade, but getting the order to give yourself that so you could just have that. It's like, okay, well, that'll be cool, I guess. But that might be something that we actually get to keep with that, or is GW going to go through and start redoing things? That being said, we'll just look at how Tactical Brigade is doing right now for the gets that actually want to make it work. So we have a Big Mech and Mega Armor with the Mech Captain. Absolutely mandatory, my opinion. Big Mech with Shock Attack Gun, but only one, which is interesting, right? A lot of time people always bring two. A Mech, a War Boss with Mork's Gunning for the redeploy, and then another War Boss. So 2 10-man units of boys, and then 2 5-man units of Storm Boys that are battle line. Love that. We have a breakable unit to go alongside one of those war bosses. 10-man unit of flash kits for the mech captain. A Gorkanaut. Hey, now if you're wondering what's happening here, I can't explain. I do have an idea, thanks to Mark Perry, because we talked about this a while ago, but I'll come back to that. We have 2 minimum size unit of Gretchen, followed by a 10-man unit of commandos with a 10-man unit of Deluas, a 10-man unit of Knobs for the other war boss, and then a 3-man unit of war bikers with 2 trucks. So he brought the 10-man knob unit, which we haven't seen in a very long time. So instead of bringing, a bunch of 10-man units of Beast Snagga boys and stuff like that, he went straight to Breaker boys, straight to knobs. What I really appreciate is in this detachment, the knobs can actually have access to getting +1 strength on top of their +1 strength from the WAAAGH. So they get up to strength 11. So if you're really just trying to deal with strength 10, T10 options, or if you're trying to deal with T5 infantry, if you're trying to do that, or even chip down T11, you also have access to sustain still here, or lethal with the strat CP, but you still have the Breaker boys on deck to assist and pop in one of those units. What I was interested to see here as well is that instead of bringing tank busters for the Ludas, you just brought, a 10-man unit, a 10-man unit Ludas with the shock attack gun. So he's giving them +1 to hit with the re-rolls in that case, and he's a cheaper unit. Would I take that? I don't know. Most of the time I don't consider it because of the fact that you ignore cover, but there may be something to that with the redeploy, right? Now, bring it back to what I was talking about. Is in this detachment, unlike in the freebooters detachment, the enhancement is significantly better in the fact that you can redeploy even your big stompy bit, right? So you can redeploy the Gorkanaut in this detachment and still be able to do all your fancy goblin mechanics. Let me make sure though, because I might be messing up. Let me make sure. That's not the other detachment, because when we read which one he picked. Enhancement. Let me see. Morse Cannon. Okay. Morse Cannon. Yeah, it's the redeploy. I was like making sure, guys, because we have so many detachment names. So yeah, we had the redeploy there in that case. So you can end up loading the Gorkanaut with dudes inside of it, very front heavy and aggressive, and then redeploy to another side of the field. You can also take 2 of your trucks and do the same thing. So you can front load on one side very aggressively and then pick up all those points and just move them defensively or into different locations. So it's very, very cunning in that way. And then you can still pick up your Storm Boys. You can give these units +1 OC, so they're not just fighting units. For example, the Knob unit. If for some reason you had to go flip an objective, there's a chance you could do that after you crump a unit. Maybe another one's on the objective that gets that has more OC than you. There's ways how you can make these kind of units feel better, including the boys, right? Boys with 3 OC each, nuts. And there's actually no Zod on this list. So that's good in that case for people that are not Zod lovers. And there's a lot of still Daka. There's still the Ludas. There's the entire Flash Gets Break. There's the Gorkanaut for the redeploying shenanigans and the melee combat for more effective anti-tank potential instead of bringing like tank busters. And then no Gazgul Thraka, but you have 10 knobs. So very interesting and different lists in that kind of way for the Tactical Brigade. Let's go over his actual path to victory for you guys in chat. Because that's first, the Weird Boy saying is we really are a diverse lot. Very much, just like the live chat is. So let's go to this first matchup with the Catan from the Necrons. So we have a Nightbringer with a Hexmark Destroyer, Luminar Caesaris, Necroros Amatar, the new character, Orkin Diviner, a Royal Warden, and Scorpack the Destroyer with 20 warriors as battle line. Typically, the best option here is to be like, well, I'll tag you guys and you suck, you can't do anything. But of course, they actually have a Royal Warden here so they can fall back and do stuff. Good for them. Still getting crumped. Then we have a Ghost Ark followed by a Canoptic Reanimator, some Tomb Crawlers. Don't see those too often. Double Doomsday Arc, a Flayed one, and then Ophidian Destroyer. So like every Necron list, just very character heavy, relying on them to do all the lifting as the rest of the gets stuck in effectively. But you would actually end up having very interesting profiles for this kind of matchup. For example, you know where the warriors are going to be. They're going to just walk up and stand on an objective because that's all they do. And now you actually have Ludobricks for re-rolling. Then they have +1 to hit in that case. You have a bunch of boys that can get into punches. You actually have a 10-man. If in a desperate situation, a 10-man unit of knobs had to punch out the warriors, there'd be a chance that they could. Wouldn't do that in this matchup in that case. But you actually have the options between the Met Captain and the Ludus both going into this unit that there's a chance you can just actually pick up the warriors or drastically diminish them to the point that you charge them and finish them off and the big warrior break, and then you're left with the characters in that case. Stuff like Luminor Suzeris, again, typically is very tough, but the one kind of unit that does have a good chance to crump him down is 10 knobs with the war boss on the wall with sustain. So there are units now. You actually have options to bring these things down. Again, you actually have some OC play on the units that you have, and at the end of the day, you still have a big old Gorgonaut. Now the Gorgonaut's very unreliable, right? We know it's unreliable. You can give you some reroll charges as an orders from them though. And he has strength 6 punches that will help deal with some of these, like a Nightbringer, that if they get through in the attacks, it's kind of more support. Or you can just go through and bully some of the more elite infantry, try to get into a fight with that Amatar because you're actually tough enough to endure his punches. You know, you do have to be somewhat respectable of a Doomsday Arc, but on the wall turn, you just kind of got to let things go, and they're not really that reliable as platforms. So very cool for his first game, and his list just oddly has good tools into a lot of these things. As we've always said, of course, the Flash gets compiled lethal and help bring down the Nightbringer too, stuff like that. So then we move into a second matchup, which was for the Chaos Demons. So the Demon Incursion, which is good, right? Here's what's good about this is that we already know as Orks what of our detachments are good into this kind of matchup. And a lot of the time, our most favorable ones are like Warhorde, for example. Typically, you would consider that a favored matchup because I'm going to run into you and run you over. Very effective combos into anti-infantry. In this case, instead of bringing gas and stuff, you kind of look and tank bombs, other different kind of units that you would think would be help you one shot maybe demons in your head on or math hammer. In this case, you brought different weapons, different kind of units, different combinations in this list, and you're still able to deal with what was considered an easier matchup for Orks. So it's good when you are able to diversify your list, yet still retain the good matchup that you have, and then have support for other ones, right? For example, like the Necrons, which I think we still do decent to Necrons, but they're one of those boogeymen that you have to deal with. So then we have Demon Incursion, very basic. We have Be'lakor, a great unclean one's endless gift, Kairos Fate Weaver, Lord of Change, and Scarbrand. Then we have a Nurgling, a Plague Bearer Brick, double Beast of Nurgles, and double Flesh Hounds. Right, very straightforward. This is one of those cases, as I said, where hey, now that you're getting +2 strength on your knobs, they can actually punch a greater demon. Right, not the great unclean one, but you can punch the other ones, especially with strat support. And for the greater clean ones, they can just stand on objectives and have to still take those damage. Of course, you have Be'lakor for getting in the way, and he's still going to put up a fight. Sorry, some deterrence kind of close some of these, but you still have Met Captain on deck to help counter demons very, very hard when it comes to their small infantry support units, where a Beast of Nurgle could be kind of a problematic unit, but you can just kind of on the side just murk the Beast of Nurgle with some kind of fire support and not really worry about it as you get into position for killing the greater demons when they're utilizing their big Be'lakor buff. You can Luda's good at killing flesh hounds, for example. You have good overwatch options for when these units are moving around as you stage up with your infantry countercharging units. And then boys for scout for getting close up and getting your skirmishes, flipping objectives, sticking them. So now the demons have to actually come and get on them and not just shoot them off. Plus, you still have a Gorgonaut on deck with Breaka Boys. So he still kept those kind of good units that would be helpful in this sort of matchup. So very happy to see that you still retain that good matchup. But then we move into his actual struggle game where he ended up taking a loss. And it was a hard loss, which is still a bit of a skew because it's a gene stealer. Now, I don't mean that enthusiastically, like, oh, he loves the gene stealer. It's cool. No, still sucks. But, you know, it's one, not a very common detachment, faction. And two, you're not always going to see this style. So we have a Benefactor, double biophages, a Jackal, Locust, Primus, and Reductor Saboteur. We have a 10-man unit of Hand Flamers, hybrids, some more hybrids as a 20-man unit, and then we have 2 of those 20-man units with a 10-man unit, another after that, a Goliath, a double 5-man unit of Aberrants with some Achilles Ridge Runners, some Adelan Jackals, a Goliath Rock Grinder, a 10-man unit of Metamorphs, and then 2 5-man units of Gene Stealers. So what's surprising in this one was that that in this case it's maybe because you have one tool for almost every situation that's really good into it, is that you didn't have the redundant tools into killing all of these, right? So the 10 Ludas might be good into killing one of these bricks, but then they come back to life and you still have other 10-man bricks that are fighting around the field. And then they too have some good counter punching, elite infantry kind of things. And now you can sometimes get good results with your breaker boys, but breaker boys aren't exactly anti-elite infant or anti-infantry units with their low volume of punches. And then he did have commandos, so pure trains kind of might end up getting taking out our mandos in those little skirmishes. So a little bit of board control state, no real good target for a big point investment, yet soft profile like 10 knobs, right? 10 knobs typically is kind of soft, even with the war boss, meaning that if you don't have something to get a good points trade there of this costs 210 points just for 10 knobs plus 75 for the war boss, and then whatever truck support they took to get there, hey, I need to hit something that's 300 points to get some kind of point efficiency here. And in this case, there's nothing on a Tyranid list. Tyranid, Gene Steer list that's really going to pay off like that in that case. So that can, and then of course mission comes into play there as well. Then we go into his comeback round, which is round 4, which is into the Thousand Suns, where he gets 100 points here. Exalted Sorcerer, double Sorcerer, Sorcerer and Terminator armor, double Rubrics, and then a 10-man unit of Rubrics, a Chaos Rhino, Forge Fiend, Mutilix Vortex Beast, 5-man unit of Terminators, followed by a 10-man unit of Scarab Occult Terminators, robots, a Zangor with a Great Bow, and then double 10-man units of Zangors. As I mentioned on the other matchup where knobs have no prime target, they have a prime target here. They have big 10-man unit of Terminators. In some cases, you might be able to effectively say, I'll kill the Terminator Sorcerer and the 5 Terminators. Won't be exactly the point cost, but maybe it swings the game enough and gets enough respect on the table. In this case, you do have the tools of combined arms into these kind of lists where you're like, okay, I got to pop one of these Mutilix Vortex Beasts, maybe at range with my Flash Get Mob, then I can move into position with counter charging. I get in some skirmishes with my boys versus my Zangors. Come out on top with my wall on that one, get into enough fights, good overwatches with Ludas into Rubrics, boom, you're cooking. Unlike the last matchup where it's like no good targets inside everything. So really cool to see that come back from that with a 100-point win. And then we go into his last matchup, which was another demon list. As we said, we like to see when we have the redundant strength into what our favorable matches should be, even if we change the flavor profile, archetypes, or builds of our list, which is what he did. Very innovative of him, by the way. So we have the Chaos Demons, Be'lakor, Great Unclean One, Kairos, Radagast, Shalex, Hellblade, Bane, and then Scarbrand, a Beast of Nurgle, and then some Flesh Hounds. Boom. Very straightforward. Just like the other demons list. And he still was able to kind of deal with that one. Difference was Radagast and Shalex, but Shalex is really hard, yet your units aren't really meant to be that durable in Tactical Brigade, even in how he built his list out. So she doesn't have any good targets if she can't get to the boys and the knobs first. So that's interesting in that way. So awesome to see that. Very, very unique list by Alejandro, and the chat did a great job by voting for this one. So shout out to the rewatch gang that gets to enjoy this. Leave likes and everything so people can actually rewatch this and enjoy this, because this was great. Finally, someone came out of the box and was cooking. So we have Big Mech and Mega Armor, a Big Mech with Shock Attack Gun, a basic Baby Mech. Oh, another thing I could have mentioned, of course, was the truck moving around and the Gorkanaut moving around with the Baby Mech, right? So the 2 trucks with firing deck from the Ludas with the Baby Mech giving them +1 to hit would be good. And shooting out of the truck for that support, making people kind of pop that. The other truck has your knobs, and then the Gorkanaut can deploy kind of safely. Keep in mind, as I said, you can redeploy the Gorkanaut, and you can have the 10-man unit of flash kits with the Big Mech and Mega Armor inside of him, so that he's moving up safely. They get out of a terrain, shoot, and then he acts as kind of a support or even a heroic intervention deterrent. And then, of course, like I said, the mech can poke, make him better, or on the other turns, can make the trucks better and then come back and still be healing them. So excellent that he had that support, and the mech's there to give orders out to units that don't have leaders. The redeploy, as I mentioned, on the war boss, and then the other war boss. Now, what I would say here, though, for anybody, I don't know exactly how I played this list, like I said, but for you, just so you know, if your character is inside of a transport, he technically can't do the redeploy. And then you also can't redeploy him into a transport because that's its own deployment. You pick what goes in the transport. So in most cases, to make it easy for you guys, if you do this, there's a good chance you just place the mech somewhere on the field where you want him to support and give him the enhancement so that you can freely redeploy any of your other units, and put whatever you want inside transports. So as the rules are written, that's how it would be. So I kind of advise that change, but like I said, don't know how the list was played. Just my words of advice. If you try this out, make it easier for you. And like I said, no sleep on the Storm Boys that can actually redeploy. So awesome job, Alejandro. I'm very excited for this list. Hopefully people take it out for a spin and get inspired by this kind of list. So shout out to that great actual work, and other people that want to see great work to the community. Let's make sure you get stuck in for that paint competition. So for WAAAGH Wednesday, I hope you guys liked that and got stuck in. I had a great time. I actually liked the list a lot. It motivated me to even look forward to the edition in the future even more. Yeah, we got to see what people are actually utilizing now, and we finally got to see some new archetypes that have never really been seen. Even the one that I showed personally with the Mega Knobs, that was still something that people could play now. And the Tactical Brigade list. If you want to see some other kind of list, be sure you just leave a comment. We can do that. If you need some videos on anything else you guys need me to cover, we'll do on that. Other than that, we'll be looking at the next edition and just doing battle reports and enjoying things and moving along. Make sure you guys get stuck in and get your painting done. As for that, shout out to the live chat. You guys really help encourage and keep things going and motivated. So it means a lot when you guys get here, and let me know if you like the new start time. So with that being said, there's only one thing to keep in mind is don't cross our wall or we'll knock your teeth out.